Hello, ready to go out again? And this time we're going to a field, a sunny field with sheep in it. That's the important bit. It's near the university, which is just beyond that motorway there. We're going to go the other way, the sunny way. We're going to go to a place called to Golgate, and this Ellel St John's Church. So, you're Craig, I already know that. And Craig, where are we and what's your job?
Hi Debbie, you're in St John's Church in Ellel in Golgate, just south of Lancaster. And my name's Craig, as you've already said, and I'm the vicar here at St John's Church.
There are other people here, so I'm going to shove you out of the way. I'm going to ask Emily to come. Emily, what's your job at this church?
Hi, I'm something called an ordinand, which means I'm training to be a vicar, like Craig.
Now I'm going to shove you out of the way because there's somebody else here. Who are you?
Hello, my name's Ian McGrath and I'm the curate here. So, baby vicar if you like, I'm training a bit further on than Emily.
All three of you. What did you do before you did this?
I used to be a project manager for an engineering firm and I also did a bit of youth work before that.
It's making me wonder why people would want this job, but everybody seems to want this job. Right, I'm going to have Craig back so I'm going to push you away. Craig, what other jobs have you had apart from this one?
I've done youth work for many, many years, for about 20 years, and I used to do your job, but in a different place. I was a schools worker on the west coast of Cumbria, but for older children in secondary schools.
Cool. So, I am going to ask everybody in a moment what their favourite bit of Psalm 23 is. But first of all, Johnny, do you want to tell us some fun facts about Psalm 23 or about shepherds in particular?
Yes, Psalm 23. That's one of the most well-known parts of the Bible, probably because it's packed full of amazing and encouraging things. And it starts off by saying, "The Lord is my shepherd." You don't have to go far into the countryside in this country to find a shepherd herding their sheep. But interestingly, in this country, shepherds do it kind of differently to other parts of the world, or certainly differently to how it would have been done when Psalm 23 was written thousands of years ago. Because in this country, usually you'll see the shepherd walking behind the sheep, or to be honest, more often riding on a quad bike and pushing the sheep ahead of them. But in Bible times, the shepherd would have walked ahead of the sheep and called to the sheep, who would have followed the voice of the shepherd. I was lucky enough to actually see something like this in action when I was on a trip to Bosnia in Eastern Europe. I was up in the hills and I saw a shepherd walking down the hills, shouting loudly over the hills, and I saw the sheep coming down off the hillside and following the shepherd to, well, wherever he was leading them. And this is just like how Christians see God leading them, calling to Christians through his voice, which we read in the Bible. Oh, also, Debbie, have you heard of Alan Shepard? He wasn't a shepherd, he was an astronaut, and is the only man who has played golf on the moon. Although he wasn't very good, he completely missed the ball the first time he tried.
Oh, I'm glad it's Psalm 23. This one was written by David, who was a shepherd before he was a king. He wrote about God in a way that he especially could relate to. As a writer, I think that's the best way of writing. Write about what you know.
Craig, what is your favourite bit of Psalm 23?
Thank you. I love the bit in Psalm 23 where it talks about God being with us, even though we walk through the darkest valley. God, it says, is always with us. His rod and his staff, they comfort us. That reminds me that God is with me in the joyful moments, in the dark moments, in the good moments, and in the bad moments. He's always there for me.
The rod a shepherd would use helped to protect the sheep, and the staff had a big hook on the end to rescue them from dangerous places, like rivers.
So, there's some fun stuff out here.
Yes.
What's going on here?
This is Jelly Tots. It's our toddler group that we run on a Wednesday morning in church.
Brilliant. Right, and your bit of Psalm 23 that you like the most?
Yeah, I love the last verse, which says that surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. And that means that in my life, God's goodness is always going to be with me, but even better, that I get to be with him in heaven forever when I die. So that makes me feel really encouraged and excited.
Lovely.
Did you know the word mercy, which means being compassionate to those in distress, comes from the medieval Latin merced or mercies, which means price paid. And that in turn reminds Christians of God's forgiveness and kindness.
So, Ian, what about your favourite bit of Psalm 23? What's that?
There's a verse that says, he leads me beside quiet waters and he refreshes my soul. Which in the busyness of life, you know what it's like today, can be really stressing. I know I can come to God in quietness and just be with him and just be refreshed by him.
Lovely.
This psalm tells us that God provides for us. He prepares a table.
It also tells us that God protects us when it says, "For you are with me."
And he prepares for us. I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. It's very well known. Perhaps you might like to write a psalm based on your own experiences. For me, I think it would be that God is like the author of my life and my story. He knows who the characters are going to be that come into my life, and he knows the end from the beginning. He's in control of all of it, so I don't need to worry about a thing.
I think everybody needs a shepherd, don't they? Someone who provides for them and protects them. And we believe in Jesus. He's also preparing a place for us to be with him for eternity. Before I ask Diana to say a prayer, we're going to read Psalm 23 together. The
Lord is my shepherd. I shall lack nothing. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He restores my soul.
He
He guides me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. For you are with me, your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table for me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
Let's pray. Dear God, thank you that you are our shepherd and that you guide us through life. Help us to remember that you are there with us through the good times and the bad, and that you protect us from harm. You are a good and merciful Father who is forgiving and kind. Thank you for everything that you provide for us. Amen.